This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission 250.
Part 2, Fellowship of the Ring. What do you think, guys? We're on Bilbo. So here we're at. If you're jumping in part 2, go back to part 1.
Haven't gotten out of the Shire yet.
Part 2,
out
of the Shire. Here we go.
So we got
Get the fuck outta here.
John likes this movie a lot. TC was medium on it, and I think
mixed.
it's the best thing ever made. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And we're going. I have a list of. The fear was we wouldn't have enough to talk about. So here we are on part 2. I got a list of 19 scenes in the movie.
Ooh, baby.
And we're on scene. We're on 3, Bilbo's birthday. We're going to scene 4, Gandalf's research.
All right.
When he leaves the town, he tells Bilbo, he's like, keep the ring, keep it secret.
That's right.
Keep it safe. And Bilbo's like, sure, dude, whatever. You're freaking out right now. I'll keep this envelope for you as long as you want. Everything's cool with me.
My uncle's gone. I'm a little sad about that, but whatever.
Like,
I got some
back
jewelry.
to my routine of going to the bar with my friends here, my Hobbit friends, trying to get Sam to bang this bartender chick over here.
Like, get together with the girl he wants. So, we got some things to do here.
So then you have Gandalf riding around. This scene probably, if I were to guess, TC, if you were confused about the plot, was probably the beginning of your confusion because it shows so many different cities that you don't know what they are. You don't know where he's going.
Yep.
You know what he's doing.
Right.
He's
he's on a journey.
Right. But you don't know where he's going or what he's looking for.
Current location is.
Do they also show, like, before they explain that there was Gollum being tortured, is that also around the time, too, where they show Gollum being tortured and the Nazgul ride out, but you have no idea who the fuck any of those things are? Yes, it shows
the doors open and these horses ride out. You're like, the fuck is going on here?
Right. They go and explain that later, but right then, you have no fucking idea.
And then right after that,
happening.
it shows Gandalf, like, looking over Minas Tirith. It doesn't say Minas. They actually, in the commentary, they were like, we thought about putting titles over what you're looking at here, but we figured that would just be like way too much information.
But then you'd
for
be
most
like,
people.
what is that? And then you'd never.
Right.
Yeah, right.
We're like, oh, that city. Like, no, I don't fucking know what that city
it's like
is.
Gandalf is traveling to a city. That's all you need to know. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Watch the images. Here we go.
Exactly.
He's going to a library. He's researching shit. That is literally all we're focusing on right
Here's
now.
one sort of criticism I have here with this, which is sometimes this kind of happens throughout this series too. It's like,
the movies or the books? We talking about movies or books?
Both, actually. In this case, it's like somehow it seems like, oh, nobody knows this shit. Well, first of all, we had a prologue that just explained all this shit to us about the ring. Elrond was fucking there the whole time and tells us later he was fucking there the whole time and knows about the ring and everything. So why doesn't Gandalf know about this stuff? Like, wasn't Elrond telling him?
Wizards only live for like 600 years or something. Elves live for thousands of years.
Yeah, but
this
he's
happened like 3,000 years ago.
But why doesn't he go talk to fucking Elrond? Just say, hey, Elrond, you've been alive for a long time.
That's a good question. Why does he go to the library? Why doesn't he go to fucking Rivendell?
Hey, go to Elrond. Because Elrond's sitting there in the council being like, yeah, I was fucking there. And it's like, thanks, Elrond. You could have just fucking saved me a whole lot of research.
I know why, John. I know why.
Why?
Because the love of the what is it? The love of the Hobbit's weed has clearly slowed his mind.
Right.
So in the book,
almost,
that's just,
it's weed.
The book,
it's weed.
He's smoking weed.
The book
Don't
is
you get
straight,
it?
No. The book is straight out tobacco. It's not. There's not this pot reference.
Really?
So sorry to blow the bubble there.
Why do they look all stoned then when they're smoking it up on the hill? It's weed, man, and it slows his mind.
Tobacco
Tobacco slow your mind.
reference, you know.
I think later
BS.
references like the idea of it being a weed reference. So that's why
Saruman tells Gandalf it has slowed his mind. Tobacco does not slow your mind; it speeds it up.
It's the movie, dear. The movie.
It's weed,
I'm saying
John.
the book.
Just let it go.
It's weed, and don't call me
In the
dear.
book, in the books, it's clearly tobacco
You call me
references.
dear. I feel so offended right now.
I love it,
dear.
man. I'm going to do this so much
It's
more.
weed, dear.
I shouldn't have. I'm showing
Sweetie,
my
listen,
wisdom.
honey.
That's cute. It's marijuana, okay?
For some reason, that puts me on
Sweetie,
edge.
I know
What's
that makes you
going
feel
on?
fun and edgy and all, but I'm sorry, dear. It's just not that. It's just straight out tobacco.
It's funny.
In the book, in the movie, it's totally weed. You look at Bilbo's eyes;
fine.
he's fucking
no,
stoned
it's
as fuck, dude.
No. For Saruman to say that, it's totally weed. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they reference it in the movies, it's more, they're getting stoned. Fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Dear.
It wasn't hard, was it?
Thanks, sweetie.
It wasn't
I
hard,
appreciate
was
it.
it, hon?
That's okay. Hey, anything for you, honey. You're such a cutie. Look at those
It
little
wasn't too
curls.
difficult to do that, was it, hon? All right,
I got
thanks.
my Hobbit hair going on, guys. Check it out.
You do got Hobbit hair.
Yeah, you like it? I grew it out for the episode. It's a podcast. No one can see me. I got my Hobbit hair
That's
going
right.
on.
I don't know. Maybe in our next iteration, we'll do the Twitch thing.
The only person in this movie that didn't wear a wig was Peter Jackson's son, who's in the scene where Bilbo's telling a bunch of kids a story during the party.
That's his son?
One of the kids is his son. And he has a close up where he's like, he's afraid of what Bilbo's saying. And the hair is his hair. It's the only non-wig in the entire movie.
So
every
Frodo,
single other person has a wig on.
Huh.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, Gandalf, yes. Aragorn has a wig. Everybody has a wig.
Every single character has a wig on.
That makes me a little sad. I don't know
Why? It looks
It's just
great.
I
There's
know
so
it does
much
look great.
shit
It does
going
look
on in
great.
this movie that just blends in.
Yeah.
And like, especially TC. So I appreciate this movie even more because I watched the Hobbit movies. If you want to see how a production like this could go wrong, even with money and good intent and good actors and
still
everything,
good actors.
and good actors, it could go very, very
go
wrong.
very wrong.
And those movies aren't like the worst things ever. They would be passable if they didn't come after these fucking movies,
Right.
the Lord of the Rings movies.
And arguably, it should have been one movie, but whatever.
Yeah, but that's not even close to the worst problem.
I
those
know.
movies have.
Yeah, it's just interesting how they went wrong because it's still Peter Jackson.
It's still Peter Jackson. It was
Yeah,
the
Still
the
getting
rush.
competent people doing the work. So
It was-
you know,
it was the studios. If you listen to Peter
what's
Jackson,
his name?
he
What's
had-
his name as the Hobbit, who is awesome? God, what was his name? John Martin.
No,
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. He
plays Bilbo, young Bilbo.
He's perfect.
Great actor.
He's perfect as Bilbo too. But
He's unlikable in those movies.
is he?
Yeah,
He was so likable in Sherlock.
yeah, I
really
know.
liked him.
Unlikable in the Hobbit movies.
Well, and, yeah.
He's a snide little motherfucker in those movies.
It's not what Bilbo is supposed to be.
I
He's
know.
supposed to be, right?
Huge
Yeah.
problem. Main character.
huge issue,
Movie-
John.
that movie,
Huge issue.
unlike this one, is called The Hobbit, and he's the Hobbit.
Right.
This
And
one is
there's
about
like
the ring.
3 fucking movies that for one book. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. So
I don't know. The tone of the Hobbit is much different too. That supposedly so the Hobbit came before the Lord of the Rings. It was more of a children's book in a sense. Right? People say that, but it's still pretty dark. I mean,
I read
it's
it in
still
5th
pretty
grade.
complicated.
It's fine for 5th graders.
But yeah, but it's still not. It's not Winnie the Pooh or anything like that. I mean, and it still has some complexities to it, but it's lighter in tone for sure than Lord of the Rings is.
Yeah. And a 5th grader would not read Lord of the Rings.
Probably
Not a
not.
chance.
Too difficult.
Yeah. Well, some of these kids around here in our neighborhood are trying. They're overachievers, though. I don't know.
I bet the movies helped. I bet they skip over the boring chapters and just read the
Probably.
ones
Well-
that match up to the movie, like what I would do, 40-year-old man.
I probably do. I would too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sounds like the fun way to read it. Can I just buy a version of the book where you just put red tape over the chapters, over the pages that have the
It's
boring
clips.
stuff
Just
in
do
it?
clip
This is the
notes.
ones
Just
you
do clip
skip.
notes,
These
man.
are the ones you read. That's
Yeah.
a good
No,
idea.
no, seriously,
Skip the heavy
Danny,
pages.
you should-
They
you
weigh
should-
3
you
times
should
as much, and they're really boring.
Just grab like the they have it all in one volume. Just grab it and just if you're like seeing it's a little dry, just skip the paragraph and just do it. And you'll be fine because there's still a lot of really good descriptions. One of the things in the books too that's really neat that I like is there's a lot more poetry and singing. I mean, you get some glimpses of that in the movie, but even like when Boromir dies, Aragorn and Legolas they sing a song in honor of him, and there's sort of a tradition seeming to it where there's like different directions that they do, and Gimli keeps silent for one direction because that's considered an honor, but there's like. I don't know. There's just a lot of cool things about the book that the book has time to do
I
that
really,
the movie would not do.
personal preference, I do not like
Yes.
when books try to do music. It really, really annoys me. Stephen King tries to do it sometimes. I've seen it in The Lord of the Rings.
I know.
It's like, am I supposed to be making up a melody for this? It's just writing words down. It's poetry that's saying it's music.
You're right.
I have
normally,
nothing to do with
I
this.
get it. I totally don't like it usually.
I see that.
somehow like the way Lord of the Ring does this because it feels like it's part of their lore. Like this is part of how they live their lives. It's in poetry and music is like a big part of their lives. And so it comes up and when they want to pay tribute to somebody or they want to make a recognition of a moment. And you see this in a little bit like in the movie, like, oh, they're doing a song that's a lament to Gandalf, you know, when they go to the tree elves. But I don't know, the book captures it well. And I really like it. You can even skip. You don't have to even read the
Skipping the songs, skipping the history chapters. This book is half red tape at this point.
You're already there. You're right there.
It
You
weighs
can
4
speed read the
pounds.
thing.
It's very hard to close all the way.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at Gandalf research. Gandalf returns. Warning from the
Gandalf
Shire.
research,
Keep it
yes.
secret. Keep it safe.
Keep it safe.
That scene where they pull like Sam out of the, it's just also like happenstance. Like, oh, Sam is there, eavesdropping. I ain't dropping no eaves, sir. I ain't dropping no eaves.
Sam is so great how he is just like he's not stupid, but he has just such a common way of speaking. He's always saying like, if you get my meaning, if you see what I'm saying, kind of. He has this, and the book is like that too. He has that manner of speaking in the book, and it's such this great like contrast to Frodo, who has such weight about him. And for Samwise to kind of be this contrast to him, where he's there looking out after him and being this sort of very plain spoken guy who's just trying to help. Sort of, I don't know. It's just a nice contrast.
Agreed.
And played so well. Again, perfect casting.
Perfect casting. How positive can we go on an episode? TC keeps his mouth shut.
I don't talk. Everything's great.
That's
right.
You're taking it well, TC. You're taking it well.
Are you disagreeing with a lot of what we're saying? Just to check in on you.
No, I am
here.
agreeing with a lot of what you're saying.
Okay.
It's not, I didn't dislike anything except for the fact that I didn't get enveloped in the fantasy world.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, it's a bummer
yeah.
if you can't be transported by it, it's failed.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the whole point.
And it's not that it's failed. It's that I had just don't.
Well, you failed.
Right, I failed.
No.
It's just that you are a husk of a human being and your
story.
imagination is dead.
Right. It's the opposite problem.
Whatever it is, it didn't work. Whoever's fault it is. But that's the bummer. Like if like the fantasy doesn't take you there and you don't get transported, then
the acting, as good as it is,
that kind of
is not
that's all it is.
hitting it for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So again, it's not to criticize you or anything really. Like,
no,
that's
I don't
the
care.
magic of
I'm
this.
just saying I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think we're
I'm not
criticizing
hearing
him at all,
anything
John.
and then being like, "Hey, fuck you, that's terrible." Right. So
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Right.
If you thought it was terrible, you'd be telling us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'd be piping
TC's
up.
not shy.
Right.
And John is not insulting TC. I don't see any of that happening.
I'm just feeling
He
bad.
just wants
for
to make
TCS,
sure,
so listen.
he's being
Don't
nice.
feel bad.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help, just letting him know
Right.
that we're not.
It's been a
That's
while
all.
since TC sat there and have been bored, but remember the first
Had to,
200
take it.
episodes? Remember those movies?
Yeah.
They're not in the top 250. A lot of those were real clunkers, and TC had to sit there and listen to me talk about commentary track for hours on
I
end
know.
for a while there.
Yeah,
so he's
everything's
used to
good.
it,
Yeah, so we're all just a little bummed.
We're
because
conditioned,
it was such a,
I
it
am
was
bummed.
fun
I
when
was
we did our,
hopeful, yeah.
To be
Yeah,
honest, I am
I
bummed
know.
too. I mean, I sat there and even when I just told myself, let it go. Who cares? They're elves. What the fucking elves? My head would immediately just switch into like, what am I watching? Because I don't like this stuff. But it's, then I'd have moments where I'm like, hey, those fucking monsters look cool. Or, man, that's a hell of a battle scene, right? Like there were those moments where those things still were good to watch. I always like a good gladiator type.
Yeah.
Massive
Oh shit!
extras.
You're going to get a lot of that
all
in the Two
stuff.
Towers.
If you
too,
like big
so,
battles, that's
those
coming.
things were great. And you could clearly see they spent a ton of money, time, and effort into it. So it's hard to dislike all of that stuff. So yeah, whatever you guys are talking about, I'm pretty much on board with, except I just didn't have the experience that you've had. That's all.
Yeah. I'll send you a cake, TC. This is the most apologetic I've ever been. We're going to keep being apologetic.
No. I don't. I mean, this is
10 years of hype.
right?
Well, it's just you got like maybe another like 6
There's
hours
always
of
hope
this.
that we watch more and I get more involved. Now that
Yeah.
I have the backstory, I ended up reading about it after because I was so confused, and that kind
Nice.
of cleared things up a little bit.
That's good, though. You don't ever do that.
No,
That's a
I was on the
positive note.
Wikipedia reading through the synopsis to make sure I even had it right what I had just seen, and so
Yeah.
I do think that the next ones it might be a better situation because I actually have the knowledge of who's who.
It's mostly the same characters in the next.
Well, even if
two.
it's not, at least
So,
I know there's elves. There's
Yeah, you know what's coming.
I know it's coming. Right.
Yeah.
It's not Harry Potter. I'll get that part right.
They're
this time.
not in school. They go to bars and they farm.
Right. But people still suck the soul out of your face. So, I mean, there's some similarities, no doubt about it.
And so last thing I want to say on the scene where Gandalf is warning Frodo and he's setting off, is there's some really like, I don't know how to say this. This movie has horror movie elements in it. And that's one of the reasons I like this one the most.
Peter Jackson's previous films were fucking horror out the nose.
Right.
Like,
and I don't, it's not necessarily spoilery, I don't think, TC, to say this one has the most horror movie elements in it. And I don't know if you like notice them, but there's at least two scenes. The scenes where he's warning them about what's happening with Gollum and the people coming for him and that stuff, like the music and the editing and the lighting and like everything in the acting is all horror movie-esque. And then there's the scene after they take off and they're in it's like the covered passage scene where they fall down the hill, they find the mushrooms. Frodo's like, get off the road. And then they jump underneath the tree. That shit is straight up scary. That scene is scary as fuck.
It's scary.
It's amazing.
But I also think even the style, like all the lingering on character reactions, arguably that's like a horror movie thing. Even though it's in actions, like it's not within the horror movie, the way they linger on the faces and stuff like that is something you very much do in a horror film.
I mean, there's the scenes where he puts the ring on and one of the ring rays, the king, like it's all like white robes and flashy lights and stuff. That's like Poltergeist.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
When he stabs him
really
in the it's like that's horror movie stuff. When
but
they're in the prancing pony and they move and the ring rays come and stab the beds and you think they're getting stabbed for like. I'm sure that tricked you, TC, maybe. Right? The way they edit it together, it's like they're getting stabbed.
They did a great
to death
job
right
of that.
now.
Yeah.
It's really awesome how they weave that like horror into this movie, which is also like name any genre in the world. It's in this movie and it fits.
That's true. I'll agree with that one for sure.
Yeah. It's crazy because like I don't think the other two have horror in it. There's a lot of other stuff, but this movie has everything in it and it fits. And it doesn't feel forced, and it doesn't feel like they're trying to make a kaleidoscope of things. It just seems like this is what's happening, and it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll go with that. I'd go with that.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
But he did,
we got one.
So he did Dead Alive. Did you ever watch that?
Yes, Dead
I'm sure
Alive
you
is
watched
awesome.
that, TC or
No.
Denny, right?
Yeah.
It is a really, really
It's
gory
fun.
horror film.
It's close to
not
Sam
my
Raimi.
favorite.
It's close to Sam Raimi. There's a scene, the famous scene of that movie is there's a bunch of zombies and he upends a lawnmower so it's sideways, so the blades are sticking out,
Oh,
and he just
shit.
walks through zombies and there's blood and shit flying all over the place.
That's sad
It's
as
pretty
sick,
sweet.
actually. I like that.
It is.
That move.
It's super over the top.
That's a good move.
Yeah. And he made The Frighteners right before this movie, which has a lot of
that was like
special
the-
effects in it.
Right. The big Michael J. Fox kind of.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of a flop, wasn't it? Though
Box office, but the effects are pretty good. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
effects he was testing out, Weta, WETA, is the special effects company that Peter Jackson owns from The Frighteners, was the reason he knew he could make Lord of the Rings because of what they
Right.
were doing with special effects. This is like, right when The Matrix was coming out, right when computer graphics were a thing. He had all the practical people that were still employed that he could hire. They didn't it wasn't after that era of movie making had been completely dissolved, right? Like all this, the makeup artists and the miniature people, still people he could hire, but also CG existed. So he's like, and he has a company that does both, and he knows how to how we can meld all of this stuff to create the Lord of the Rings in a way that you couldn't even do this now. If someone tried to I'm sure I'm going to get pissed off. I'm going to watch this Lord of the Rings thing, John, that you're recommending. I'm going to get mad at how much CG's in it. I'm sure of it, right? Just comparing it to this, they didn't do it as good. They didn't spend time thinking about the camera angles and the miniatures. They didn't want to spend 3 months building a miniature for this one castle. I get it. But at the same time, fucking build a miniature. It looks so much better, guys. Just please spend 5 years of your lives and
just
make 3
do it.
movies. Yeah. It's never going to happen like this again. And I think that's...
You're probably right.
It's pretty awesome.
Well, again, it's I'm sure, again, in the documentary and in the backstories and stuff, this probably comes through. There was this real sense of this stuff was important. This is valuable. This is the Lord of the Rings. This is Tolkien. They needed to do it right. I think that
not
there
only
was a
that,
sense
the
of
budget. The budget was massive. They were, for the first time ever, filming 3 movies in a row over 17 months. There's just unprecedented shit going on.
So that's interesting. Because normally too, normally one is greenlit after the other. I don't know how did they manage that they got all 3 greenlit all at once to be able to say that
it was New Line Cinema. They shopped it around. They actually had interactions with Harvey Weinstein, and Peter Jackson was really against Harvey Weinstein at the time, which was
Yay,
pretty
Peter.
great.
Makes
There's some
sense.
pretty good quotes. He called him a massive bully, and he
is.
said that he was extremely sexist. And when he was in, so they had talks for a while. Miramax, the Weinstein company, was like they were giving him $100 million to do it, and Jackson wanted $300 million. I think New Line eventually ended up giving like 250, and then it ballooned up to 300. But when it was Miramax, they were talking to Weinstein, and Weinstein was blacklisting actresses that couldn't be in the movie. And I forget
right, of
exactly
course,
who they
because
were.
they
But they
were
were the
that-
actresses that he raped.
What an asshole.
And then we're going to talk about him. So he's like, all right, we're going to make it for $100 million, but you can't cast these people in the movie. That's literally what Weinstein was doing.
Jesus.
Guys, it's such a
So
prick.
so Peter Jackson's like, fuck this guy.
yeah, I
This guy
don't.
fucking sucks.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the story is there in terms of like still how did they have the clout to sell this even to New Line to give them
Because New Line's the
250?
shit, dude. Remember what New Line did with Nightmare on Elm Street? They just roll the dice. They're big ass gamblers over
They're
there.
all right with that?
They're going to throw
So-
all of their
so-
fucking money they have ever had into great ideas with really
So
talented people.
they didn't have like Peter
Just
didn't
take so
like
much
go
money.
and like kill himself over like fight like selling this.
Oh
It
yeah,
just,
he
it
did.
just they were like
Peter
yeah,
sold
okay.
everybody on this movie.
Oh,
Peter
yeah.
must be the best salesman of all time because he can go around. He literally fucking got everyone jazzed to be on this movie.
Yeah.
Literally everyone. People who didn't know what
Did
the
he
books
have? Did he
were.
have it cast right away? Like even as he was selling it, did he have his cast or no?
No.
So he didn't have his cast.
For Frodo.
Like how could he sell this then? Like he didn't even did like normally or at least
Because he
sometimes
did
one of the story.
storyboards.
Okay,
He had-
so he had something.
So what he
Yeah.
did is he did paper storyboards, and then he did an animatic. Animatic is the word. Animatic, which is like a movie of storyboards. So like he hired voice actors, he hired an editor and a storyboarder, and you basically make the runtime of the movie the same with people voice acting over it, and you have the scenes laid out, and it's just a cartoon.
So
No.
like
And he had that
again,
made, and then he also has 3D.
So let's back up
shots
in this
his mind
in
that
terms of
he
this.
paid people with his own money to make. So he had like
Right.
3D shots. He's like, we're going to put this in as the introduction to this castle here, and that's what it's going to look like.
So
and people were like, holy shit.
backing up a little bit before this is all Peter Jackson's doing in a sense. I think he was working with his
100%.
partner Fran.
He spent a lot of his
too.
own money in the pre-production. He had his own. The Weta was his special effects studio. He had them working on it for a while after the Frighteners.
So
but
he himself on his own initiative put this all together and then started shopping it around.
yes.
Who gets the rights to the books? Like how is that?
So freaking Tolkien sold the rights to the books back in the 60s for an equivalent now of like $100,000.
oh shit.
So
Like to who though?
I don't know.
Like how did Peter have the rights to do this?
Because the
Or
person
know
who
he
owns the
could
rights
get-
sold it to everyone. They didn't fucking care. They
Oh,
bought it
really?
to
They didn't
sell
fucking
it.
care. They're like, okay.
They like Tolkien. Apparently, when he sold it, these books are really popular. But when he sold it, they couldn't have been that
Oh yeah,
popular.
ridiculous. As popular as one of the most popular books.
But why would
like,
he have
as far
sold it
as-
for nothing?
I don't know. Maybe rights didn't mean much back then. Like making a movie out of a book wasn't a big deal at
Maybe.
those times. I don't know. Like there wasn't much money to be made from it. You know.
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe.
That's a good question.
But then you lose all the profits too, don't you? If it's selling really well, why would you want to like sell the right? Or I guess you still get the profits. You
Maybe
just get,
maybe
you
there
lose
was
the
a time though
property.
when like book sales were more than movie sales. Like you made more money off books than you might make off a movie. So like selling the rights to a movie might not have meant as much. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, because this is quite a while ago.
It's true.
But I don't know. I have
But
no
yeah, he
idea.
sold the rights. He didn't want anybody to make a movie or any of the like. There was the 1970s cartoon for The
Yeah.
Hobbit, and there's a Lord of the Rings one too
the
from the 80s.
Rankin Bass, which I saw, which weren't horrible.
I
They
saw
were
it as a
little
kid.
strange.
It was pretty weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
That was the word.
Not for
so-
kids. Like it just very odd.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, they did both The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, I think.
Yeah,
and
Ralph
they were
Bank-
both weird.
Ralph, what's his name? Did the Lord of the Rings one?
Yeah.
The guy who did Fritz the Cat, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, so he actually didn't even like these movies. He didn't want like any of these. When did he die?
Well, he didn't live to see these movies.
He didn't see.
he
these
was.
movies. So
he
people
was,
were saying
I
that he
think-
wouldn't have liked these movies. Is that what they said? Here's an edit point for you, TC.
He was also reportedly kind of grumpy.
Talking about
Just like
Tolkien?
Gandalf. Talking about
Yeah.
Tolkien.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be that. You're not going to be a social butterfly if you're writing that stuff.
That's fair.
That's true.
Not out
be
there
sitting
having
in
a
the
good
room by
time,
yourself,
living your
I
best
think.
life when you're putting that much work into something.
Right.
Let's see. So there were two guys. Speaking of social butterflies, Alan Lee and John Howe were two people that were kind of famous for Lord of the Rings art. A lot of the art that exists of the places that Tolkien describes were made by these two guys. And Peter Jackson was like, well, we can't make this movie without these two guys working on it. They're both recluses. One of the guys, they had to like find him in some really random small town in England, and they sent him they basically stalked him. They sent him a UPS package, tracked it, and like we're like, oh, it's delivered to his door. Let's see how long it takes him to call us back.
Let's go get him.
Yeah. So he called, he read the whole package. Like they sent them a box with a VHS tape of The Frighteners. They sent him like a script idea and like who is cast and like all this stuff. And he read it within 3 hours. He called and he's like, I'm in. And then this other guy, John Howe, he was more in the city and they called him up and they're like, Jackson was 2 hours into a pitch and the guy was interviewed, John Howe. And he's like, yeah, the worst part about the interview was like, I just wanted him to shut up so I could say yes.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Like you didn't have to go that far into it, man. I was yes like 30 minutes ago.
Yep. And Alan Lee and John Howe are there's so many of their ideas are in this movie, like the way things look. Like there's so Alan Lee was kind of the rock star of the documentary out of the two, but both of them were very important. But Alan Lee had this image of the entrance to Bag End, and Peter Jackson's like, I've been thinking about this image for 20 years. Can you like make the rest of Bag End look like this? Can you flush out the house for us? And he did, and that's what we see. Literally, what he drew is what they made. And the same thing with what's Sauron's tower called?
Shit.
His tower.
Minus Tarth or no, it's the city, right?
Yeah.
What's his
So
tower
whatever
called?
Sauron's tower is, the Black Tower. There is a picture he drew a while ago of the bottom portion of the tower, and Peter Jackson's like, I always wanted to know what the top looked like. So he finished the drawing, and that's what's in the movie.
Barad-dûr is the
Barad-dûr. Okay.
Barad-dûr, yeah.
There's like just one more example of this guy. There's a sentence in the Lord of the Rings, the book, where they're running away from they're running away from the Balrog in the Mines of Moria, and it says in the book, and then they ran down the stairs. That's all it says.
Right, yeah.
And then they gave him, they're like, can you draw some stairs so they can run down? And he comes back with that fucked up staircase that's in this movie that's like isolated in this giant chasm with a bunch of archers and shit.
That
like,
whole sequence is
the
awesome.
artist came up with that whole thing, and then Peter Jackson was like, we have to make this. This is an amazing drawing. And he had like, then he just set on all these miniature artists, all these other people to make this happen.
Wow.
Like it was flowing out of this guy's brain who drew things, and it just became a part. Like it's insane. It's so cool. It's so creative. It's it's awesome. I'm gushing.
That is pretty damn fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Again, it's another. There's a Star Wars feel to this too, in terms of like the gathering like really fucking talented people who are really passionate about this stuff together. You know, in terms of like in this case, in Star Wars, it was all about the spaceships and the and stuff like that, but and different things that were happening there. But here it's the scenes and the architecture of the places that they're in. And finding the people that are really passionate about that, and then making that real, and it's really cool, and that's what kind of the thing that's different about the fantasy thing too. It's like you just, it's more about an environment. When you're in space, it's all about the fucking spaceships or whatever. That's a little different. It's more about vehicles, but here it's about like being in a place and then having like structure and architecture there, and that's something that's all throughout this fucking movie. Like whether you have your statue with the statues of the different ruins, but here like the whole sequence in the Mines of Moria is just fucking amazing, where they have like the bridge and the stuff and how it leads to the climactic sequence with the Balrog. It's just really good, but building it up to where they're running through these stairs, it's just, oh man, it's really good.
It's so good. I mean,
yeah.
that scene, TC, there's no story going on. It's just action.
Yeah,
like that,
those are impressive.
It's action.
Yeah.
The fucking "you shall not pass" line, like the way again Ian McKellen does that as Gandalf is
awesome.
fucking insanely
I still tear up.
good.
I fucking tear up in this movie, man. When like he's carrying the hobbits away with the score, and they're all outside. Like I feel manipulated as fuck when I watch it, but I love it.
I know, but it's foreshadowed so fucking well because like Gandalf is like, we don't want to fucking go down there. I don't want to go down there. It's almost like he knows that's where his doom lies. And you could like see like it's almost foreshadowed to him. Like we should not fucking go down there. Everything in the movie, like they're trying to avoid it. And so they end up down there. It's like, and when it's almost like he knows. It's like somehow he's had a premonition that the Balrog is his doom.
Or he feels it from down there.
Right.
He feels
what they
unearthed, like the way he describes it. He's like, these fucking greedy ass dwarves went too deep and they fucking dug out a giant goddamn monster.
Right. So
idiots,
but he knew it. Which one annoyance is like how Gimli does not know any of this is a little annoying.
Yeah, how long has he been gone? Like they're all skeletons. How long has he been away from freaking?
So in the book, Gimli knows. So in the book, like everybody knows what happens in Khazad-dûm, which also is sort of annoying. Like
what does that mean? What is Khazad-dûm?
Well, Mines of Moria is the human term for those mines.
Is Khazad-dûm okay?
Khazad-dûm is what the dwarves call it.
Gotcha.
And so it's a little annoying that if you want to be all geek about it, that Gimli doesn't ever call
There's
it that.
no way to not be geek about talking about the book, John.
Right.
Keep going ahead.
right. No, that's fair. But
don't apologize for Tolkien, John. You can't do it.
But that's fair. But in the book, it's like they all knew that the shit went wrong in Khazad-dûm, and there was an expedition that went out there to go and figure and see what they could salvage or resolve.
That Gimli was aware of.
Right, that Gimli is aware of that, and then there's some sadness that you learn that expedition was all killed by goblins. Fine, but yeah, it still seems
when they
weird
arrived
like,
in the mines.
Right, yeah.
So he didn't actually get any feedback. He's like, oh, maybe they're fine. Maybe they just didn't return because they're having such a good time.
That is a little more reasonable in the book, but the idea, like in the movie, where he's like, as if somehow they think that Khazad-dûm or Mines of Moria, that the dwarves are still thriving there and they're going to resolve them. It's like, well, then why the fuck does Gandalf not want us to go there in the first place, Gimli? Why don't you ask Gandalf that? It's like, why is that a bad thing? If they're going to welcome us and we're going to go have some drinks and just chill out down there, we should just go do that right away. Let's not go up the big frosty mountain. Let's go down there where the dwarves are all happy. Anyway, a little annoying inconsistency there, but whatever.
Well, it's I had a feeling when he was describing it in the beginning, it was the fact that there is the city where the dwarves live, but then the rest of it is like fucked up mines, right? Like there's like one civilized part of the underground, but then the rest of it is just a maze.
Run through the civilized part. I don't know.
But then you have to still run through the maze, which is much larger than the civilized part.
Okay, maybe that's it, Denny. That might kind of work.
That's what they literally say in the movie.
Oh yeah, you can get to where the happy dwarves are, but you still got some other like nasty places to go.
Right, because you're traveling through it. Like the happy part is right when you enter the front door, but then there's all this back end of like twisting mines and shit, which is where they dig.
It's still all right. I'll accept it. That's fine.
That's what they say in the movie. So there's no accepting it. They literally say it. He's afraid of the long dark, is what he says.
Right. No, it helps me to sort of understand that. It still seems weird that like they don't know the status of their own people there. Like
that is weird because honestly, bringing it back to this point, so when they're in Rivendell and they have the hobbits are there, they don't know the hobbits are coming, right? They don't know this whole crew of people and Gandalf are coming. They're just like, hey, Frodo's fucked up. Heal him, Elrond, please, Mr. Smith. Just fucking heal him. And they do, but then Elrond is like, well, we don't want the ring. This would really fuck up our shit here. Like, we're kind of weak as it is. Our magic is gone for some reason. Get the hell out of here, Frodo. You seem like you can carry it. You're not corrupt already, so you can carry it. But then where do they get Gimli from? Why is Gimli even there? Do they call on Gimli
I don't
to
even
travel
remember.
there?
I think it's more explained in the book. Boromir, for sure, in the book, he just happens to be. I had the feeling
they were both just happened to be there, and like you can represent your entire race. To decide on this.
I think that's more what happens in the book. It's just more like these were groups that just happened to be there because shit was going on with Sauron rising and Mordor, things happening in Mordor, that people were coming to Rivendell and saying, hey, what the fuck is happening here? It had nothing to do with the ring. It wasn't like people were called to figure out what to do next. It was more like shit was going on, so different people were just like trickling into Rivendell, and then Elrond just sort of took advantage of that. Like, you're all fucking here, and now we got these hobbits, and they got this ring, and we got to figure out what to do next. So why don't y'all like talk to us about that too?
That sounds okay. I want to ask TC a question here. TC, were you confused from the get-go, or was there a scene in the movie? I'm thinking about how confusing this scene is. Was there a scene where you're just like, now I am completely lost? Was there a point in the movie, or was like the whole intro sequence kind of like, I don't know what's going on here?
Yeah, it was the whole movie.
It was the whole movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is why I kept getting confused with Harry Potter.
They're all magic. Who gives a shit?
I
They're
was,
wearing
I was
costumes.
really struggling,
like
guys.
a
I
bunch
was.
of- they just-
I was.
Aw.
And you need a notebook.
Not if you watch it every year, TC.
Well, that's why I'm hoping this
Well,
second one will
we'll
help
get-
me
yeah,
out a little bit.
Yeah. Like you said, you go and read the lore a little bit, you catch up, maybe know where you're at. So I think from here on, it's a little bit more straightforward in a way. It's like, all right,
so
you
too,
know the
yeah.
hobbits, they got to go try to throw the ring into the fire of Mount Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've just got other shit going on. You got Saruman who's amassing all this armies and stuff like that.
I see.
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
And then you've got Sauron in Mordor. That's a problem. So now you're gonna have to deal with these problems.
Great Game of Thrones, you know?
I mean, the Game of Thrones ripped the shit off.
Oh, yeah.
So much.
Big time.
Oh, sure, but
Yeah.
but
So many things
there's a
ripped
lot
this
more,
movie
a
off.
lot more sex and incest in Game of Thrones. But so you just got that. But so another sort of difference of the book. While we're on the topic too of Saruman, is that Saruman was positioning himself as a rival to Sauron, not so much like going with Sauron right away. So Saruman was going to like get the ring for himself and obtain power and have his own faction and get the ring and rule
So there was
himself.
enough evil for two guys to be
Yes.
kind of hosting
Yeah.
their own evil.
So
and-
again, I can understand. I can understand why the movies don't want to like just fucking deal with that. They're just more like, let's just make this all one bad guy and Sauron serving the bad guy. Let's not like complicate things too much. But in the book, Sauron himself was more like about like, this is a time to seize power. We've got the ring. If Sauron himself could have the ring, he could hold great power. He could defeat Sauron or whatever. His orcs were he had his own army. He was building his own army that was not necessarily going to be on the side of Sauron either. And the movie just kind of, again, I think they just had to simplify it. Just be like, let's not fucking like muddy the waters too much with too many bad guys.
TC's eyes are glazed over.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's so much
Not
more
even
complicated
listening.
in the book, yeah. So
Right?
if you thought the movie was complicated, just
Yeah,
multiply it by
Jesus.
4 because
Yeah.
everyone's got their own
Fucking
But the
armies.
book,
My head
the book has a lot
exploded
more time.
like
You know,
4
the book has
times
all
in
the
one
time it
sentence.
needs.
Just like,
Yeah.
don't know what the hell I thought. What?
Yeah.
What? Excuse me?
The other thing while I'm
So
at it
they're
too
elves? I don't know.
is in
Wait,
the
they're
book
elves
there
in
was
this?
no
That's what they were.
Right.
Shit.
which I kind of thought was a little cheesy in the movie was the wizard duel. Yeah,
I liked it.
You liked it? Well, I know Saruman like dual wielding stabs.
I liked it how they were just punching each other with their
Yeah,
sticks,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah, didn't happen in the book. I mean, that wasn't like not a
Peter
not
Jackson
really a thing in
talked
the
about
book.
that. He's like, yeah, I wonder how
Yeah.
some enthusiasts would consider this because like we just needed to like pump it up a bit. Like he has he knows the budget. He knows how much money he needs to make back. He needs to make a crowd pleasing movie. And he knows how to
Right.
do that.
Well,
He's like,
we
we need
have
an
a
action scene
fucking
here.
wizard duel, right? You know, right?
We have two
It's,
wizards. Let's have
yeah.
them fight. Fuck it.
yeah, right.
Why not?
And that's fair. That's fair.
And I couldn't disagree with him, you know?
Yeah, no, it's understandable.
All right, we're at the Gandalf confrontation with Saruman. I'm talking about that. This is scene 7. They bump into Merry and Pippin. We kind of already talked about this. The covered road scene. Buckleberry Ferry. Follow me.
Yeah, great scene. Again, really, the action in that and the sort of way. Again, like you said, Denny, there's horror elements to this. With the way that the Nazgul are presented, it's really well done and really nice, like very tense action sequence.
My favorite shot in the entire movie is when they're on the road and he feels a presence, and it shows Frodo's perspective looking down the road, and it has that drawn
it does that,
shot
like,
where
that
like
sound-
it's zooming
that,
in
like
but
they-
pulling the camera
yeah,
away,
yeah.
and it seems
It's
like
really
the
cool.
distance is coming towards you.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is
It
the
is a
best
good shot.
I love that.
It
so
is
much.
awesome.
That was an effect that we talked about. I think it was like Vertigo invented, or like at least popularized that camera move. It's where you have it on a dolly and you're pulling it back, but you're zooming in, so everything
Right.
flattens out
Yeah.
in the camera.
It's some kind of, it's like dropping the bass there. It's like this.
Yeah, it's such a
sort
perfect
of
use of
feeling.
it, and it's scary. It makes it feel like
It
something's
is.
coming and you can't see it, but it's coming towards you.
Yeah.
It's great. It
It
almost
was a
breaks the
great
third
effect.
wall in the effect. It's almost three-dimensional.
Yeah. It was really well done. Oh, nerd point 2 in the book, the Nazgul just had normal horses. They didn't have these weird demon horses.
Thanks,
They
Peter
had
Jackson.
just
Thanks for jazzing it up for us
normal
idiots,
black
man.
horses.
Peter Jackson knows
it
who his audience
adds
is.
it adds to the terror of the Nazgul themselves that they're on these like demon fire-eyed horses
And it
with
gives
dripping
a
hooves.
guy a job whose title is Master Horse Makeup Artist.
Hey,
Right.
that's a
I've
gig.
never heard
Finally.
that. We've watched a lot
That's
of
a
movies.
gig.
Yeah.
There's a
Jimmy-
Master Horse Makeup Artist on this
Jimmy,
movie.
we made fun of you all your life for what you wanted to be when you grew up.
You're
but
painting
there you
ponies,
go.
but
Paid
damn.
off, man.
Yeah.
That's
Guy
right.
was painting rainbows on the sides of ponies for 20 years, and then all of a sudden, bam,
Boom,
the
got a
biggest
gig.
trilogy of all time.
Fucking Jimmy made it. Somebody found him and knew that he was there to do what they needed him to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the fucking horse makeup artist, bitch.
Dude, just finding enough people to do all the things you need to do to make this movie is a feat in itself, right?
Yeah.
This is a random amount of talent to get. And these people are the best. And there are people that are good at this. It's all so fucked up. Like the
No,
movie industry
but
has
again-
created such a fucked up part of the world
I know.
where it's it's just mostly artists and some marketers and some businessmen and some like managers. Like it's all just this weird. It's a weird industry,
That's
super
cool.
weird
Oh, yeah.
industry, and a lot of the
But
time we talk a lot of
how
shit
do you
on
get
it.
this like combination of like insanely talented people? It's again a Star Wars situation in terms of like, you know, where you had the model designers and you had fucking Bert, the sound designer, and Star
Well, you're
Wars.
friends with
You had
George
these
Lucas.
people were like,
so
right?
so Peter Jackson is friends with George Lucas, and
Okay.
what he wanted to do with the storyboards is he's like, I want to be able to represent what I want to show to these 3D artists without having to draw it on paper, because that's now impossible with all the possibilities you could do in 3D modeling or 3D visualizations. He needed something to storyboard stuff before they spent all the money for it. And George Lucas had been working on that for the prequels. So he went to the Lucas Ranch and George showed him all the shit that he had and basically let him use his programming to come up with storyboards that were
You know what?
like pre-rendered 3D camera moves on block images to give to artists so they could create exactly what he wanted to create.
Does George Lucas being able to help with Lord of the Rings
Make me like him more? Yes.
excuse him from the prequels?
No.
Are we no, it still doesn't
he
redeem
made
him.
Star Wars and he helped make Lord of the Rings. And then he made the
Right.
prequels.
Shit
I was
on
gonna-
that.
and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, fuck, and by all accounts, a nice guy, like helpful.
Yep.
Like
He invites his
not
movie
like
buddies over and he's
stepping on
like,
other
check out my
people.
tech. And they're like, holy shit, George, you got a lot of money, dude.
Yeah,
This is ridiculous.
And, other than his own IP, which he wants to sabotage and destroy, whatever.
Well, not anymore. He sold
But-
it. So Disney's doing that
he
for him
sold
now.
it, so he doesn't control it anymore. But before
Yeah.
then, he did his best to shit it. But I don't know. I mean,
I have no ill will against the guy. The prequels suck. though.
no.
And he
Yeah.
should stop tampering in art that's already created. Like his
Right,
redo,
right.
like
But-
redoing
but-
Star
but-
Wars is a
but
bad idea. But
That aside, every time he's approached by these other people, he helps them, right?
Well, I mean, it's good practice when you want to keep making money.
I
he
guess
pushed
that's
his
very
tech.
true. Like,
He pushed his
but
tech.
he's not like, oh hey, like you young whippersnapper Peter, I don't give a fuck what you're doing. I'm not going to help you. No, he's like, all right, dude, you're like me. You want to do something really
yeah,
cool
you're a
and work
nerd
really hard
and you
at it.
seem smart and you can learn. So
Right.
let's do this.
So here, let me give you whatever resources I have,
Mm-hmm.
right? So good on you, George.
Yeah, really good. Because a lot of the most complicated shots, and if you like, so just like we're kind of doing half and half commentary, if you like special features, this is top 5 best package you could
it's
get.
top 5. What do you
easily.
mean top 5? Like what is better?
I mean, I think this is the best. It's just like,
Yeah?
it's tough because
Yeah.
like I think the making of Apocalypse Now documentary called Hearts of Darkness is like
Right.
on a level of its own because of the
Right,
drama
right.
that was happening
Right,
behind
yeah,
the
which
scenes.
we did a whole episode on that,
Yeah,
right?
I think
Because
that's
it was
really
its
the
worth.
only
It's like-
one that
yeah.
might teeter at number 1. The Blade Runner special features behind the scenes, like they filmed the entire time behind the scenes of that movie.
That's fair. Like his
which is
wife
pretty
was doing
awesome.
that, right?
There are a few other ones, but
Was it?
they filmed the entire time behind the scenes of this movie. There's 2 making of documentaries, separate ones, and then there's a bunch of featurettes, and then there's 4, commentary tracks. So I mean, this is just like the amount it's the most by far. Do we have a break, DC? What do you think?
What are we at? Stop it.
All right, another break. We're stopping. We're pausing. I'll take this break to go through and prepare for the long dump of notes.
Here we go.